The night Marcus Hale decided to follow his nanny, he told himself it was about responsibility, about protection, about being a good father. But deep down, beneath the polished surface of his million-dollar image, it was something darker. Doubt. He had built an empire from nothing in downtown Chicago, Illinois. A self-made tech millionaire before 40, Marcus was admired in business magazines and envied in boardrooms. Yet none of those accolades mattered when he tucked his 8-year-old son, Caleb, into bed each night. Caleb was the only thing left of Marcus's late wife, and since her passing, fear had quietly become his shadow. Fear of losing again, fear of trusting the wrong person, fear that money could not shield him from everything. And recently, that fear had a name: Olivia Carter. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that people deserve to be understood before they are judged, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why the heart matters more than wealth. Olivia had been Caleb's nanny for nearly a year. She was gentle but firm, patient with his nightmares, creative with his endless questions. Caleb adored her in a way that made Marcus both grateful and uneasy. Because when you have everything to lose, even love can feel like a threat. The suspicion began small, a phone call taken outside, a slight flinch when Marcus once asked about her weekend. And then, one evening, as Marcus returned early from a corporate gala, he saw Olivia leaving the house quickly, her face pale, her movements hurried. She did not notice him watching from his car parked across the street. It was impulsive, reckless even. But Marcus followed her. Chicago's glittering skyline faded in his rearview mirror as Olivia drove toward the south side of the city. The neighborhoods grew older, quieter, streetlights flickered, the pavement cracked. This was far from the manicured lawns and private security of Marcus's gated community. His jaw tightened. Was she in trouble? Was Caleb somehow involved? Or worse, had Marcus allowed a stranger into his son's life without truly knowing her? Olivia parked near a modest brick building with chipped paint and narrow windows. Marcus stayed back, his heart pounding like he was the one with something to hide. He watched as she stepped out of her car, opened the back door, and carefully lifted something from the seat. It wasn't a bag. It wasn't groceries. It was a little girl. The child looked frail, her body wrapped in a thin pink blanket. Olivia cradled her with practiced care and hurried toward the building's entrance. Marcus's breath caught. He waited a full minute before stepping out of his own vehicle. His expensive leather shoes felt foreign against the uneven sidewalk. The building's entrance door didn't close properly. It creaked open with a gentle push. Inside, the hallway smelled faintly of antiseptic and old paint. The walls were lined with faded posters about community health and local support programs. Marcus followed the soft echo of Olivia's footsteps until he reached a half-open door. He didn't mean to eavesdrop, but he couldn't move. Through the narrow opening, he saw Olivia kneeling beside a cot. The little girl lay there now, her small chest rising and falling unevenly. A portable oxygen tank stood beside the bed. Olivia adjusted the mask with trembling hands, brushing the child's hair from her forehead with a tenderness that silenced every suspicion in Marcus's mind. A man in his early 50s entered the room, wearing a worn-out clinic badge. He placed a reassuring hand on Olivia's shoulder. Marcus couldn't hear every word, but he caught enough. The little girl, Sophie, had a chronic lung condition. Treatments were expensive. Insurance had run out months ago. Olivia had been working double shifts, saving everything she could. Saving everything. Marcus leaned against the hallway wall as something inside him shifted. Olivia wasn't hiding secrets to harm his son. She was hiding a battle she had chosen to fight alone. He watched as she kissed Sophie's forehead and whispered something that made the child's lips curve into the faintest smile. It was the kind of smile Caleb gave when he felt safe. Suddenly, Marcus felt ashamed. Ashamed of his luxury watch. Ashamed of the distrust he had wrapped around his heart. Ashamed that he had never once asked Olivia about her life beyond his home. For a year, she had cared for Caleb like he was her own. For a year, she had shown up every morning with warmth in her eyes, even while carrying a storm inside her chest. Marcus left quietly that night, unnoticed, but he didn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse office overlooking Lake Michigan, staring at the city lights that once symbolized power. Now they felt hollow. He thought about the early days when he had nothing, sleeping in a cramped apartment, building software through sleepless nights, promising himself that if he ever made it, he would never forget what struggle felt like. Somewhere along the way, he had forgotten. The next morning, he watched Olivia through a different lens. She arrived on time, her hair neatly tied back, her smile steady. Caleb ran to her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She laughed softly, lifting him despite the exhaustion that lingered beneath her eyes. Marcus called his assistant and canceled every meeting. That afternoon, he asked Olivia to sit with him in the living room after Caleb began his homework. Her posture stiffened slightly, perhaps sensing something serious. He didn't accuse her. He didn't mention the night before immediately. Instead, he thanked her. He thanked her for staying late during Caleb's fevers, for helping him with school projects, for being present when Marcus couldn't. Then he told her he had followed her. The silence that followed was heavy, not angry, not defensive, just tired. Olivia explained everything without embellishment. Sophie was her younger sister. Their parents had passed years ago. She was all Sophie had left. The clinic helped, but funds were limited. She didn't want pity, she didn't want charity, she just wanted to handle it herself. Marcus listened, this time not as a millionaire evaluating risk, but as a father who understood desperation. Over the next week, things changed quietly. Marcus met with specialists at one of Chicago's leading hospitals. He arranged consultations. He created a foundation in Sophie's name to cover long-term treatment, not only for her, but for other children facing similar conditions. He did it discreetly, without press conferences or media attention. When Olivia received the call confirming Sophie's admission to a top-tier facility, she broke down in the middle of Marcus's kitchen, not out of humiliation but relief. Caleb hugged her legs, confused but smiling because she was smiling through tears. The treatments began. Sophie grew stronger. Color returned to her cheeks. The oxygen tank became less permanent, more precautionary. But the biggest change wasn't in hospital rooms. It was in Marcus's heart. He started going home earlier. He attended Caleb's school events instead of sending drivers. He asked Olivia about her day, about Sophie's progress. The mansion felt warmer, not because of money, but because walls built on suspicion had finally come down. One evening, months later, Marcus found himself standing outside that same brick building where everything had shifted. Only this time, he wasn't hiding in the shadows. He walked in with a check to expand the clinic, to ensure families wouldn't have to choose between pride and survival. Olivia stood beside him, not as an employee, but as someone who had unknowingly taught him what true wealth meant. If this story has touched your heart so far, take a moment to comment the word hope below. Let us know you believe that compassion can still change lives, because sometimes the greatest discoveries happen when we confront our own fears. Marcus thought following Olivia would uncover betrayal. Instead, it uncovered his own blindness. It reminded him that kindness isn't weakness, and asking for help isn't failure. It reminded him that while money can build empires, only empathy can build legacy. Sophie eventually ran across the lawn of Marcus's estate one bright spring afternoon, laughing as Caleb chased her. Olivia watched from the porch, her eyes filled with something steadier than gratitude: peace. Marcus stood beside her, realizing that trust is not built by surveillance or control. It is built by courage, the courage to see someone fully. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you to look deeper before you judge, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder about compassion, and subscribe for more stories that restore faith in humanity. Your support helps keep stories of hope alive. Because sometimes the miracle isn't in what we discover about others, it's in what we discover about ourselves.